Um, Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to Shirel. This is really exciting. And it's interesting to be on this side of it. So many people that I have chatted with before are here. So thank you for coming. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So today I'm talking about three of my favorite things, which are comedy and TV and film history and being a Jewish woman. And how do those three things come together? So let's start before we get to TV, which is our main focus for today, but we're also going to be diving into a little bit of film, a tiny bit of radio, and where we're actually starting, which is vaudeville. So, if you are unfamiliar, before vaudeville, we're talking mid 19th century, the primary form of entertainment in the United States was music hall, saloons, it was very bawdy. The audiences were only men, lots of alcohol, not considered a refined entertainment. But by the 1880s, it shifts into what is now called vaudeville, which was a polite form of entertainment. This means that women could be in the audience, and because women were in the audience, we had to not have alcohol because they couldn't have that. And we also had many different kinds of acts. There would be, up to 12 or 15 acts on the same bill. That's the primary point about vaudeville, is that it was a variety show. It could be anything from singers or dancers to, I saw one man called the Human Corkscrew. Um, I don't know why that's refined, but maybe he is a human corkscrew for nice wine. And so this is also the first instance where we see ethnic comedy being super popular in the United States. The most famous one kind of comedy is blackface, but it wasn't the only kind. There were Irish comedy, and in this case, Yiddish comedy. And it was very popular. It would be pretty offensive today, but at the time, it was par for the course. So I'm just gonna do this. Great, now I can't see myself. Okay, so in the 1880s, as I mentioned, we switched to vaudeville. And this is when we first get the rise of Jew face. If this is not a term you've heard before, it is similar to blackface, where at the beginning, non-Jewish actors and performers would play very serious stereotypes. They would put on noses, they would put on beards, they would have really thick Yiddish accents. Most of their jokes were about being rich or trying to make money, and very offensive. You can see here on the left, we have When Mose with His Nose Leads the Band. Not great. But by the 1910s, this has completely switched. Similar to blackface, which started out with white performers putting coal on their and tar on their face. In Jewface, the Jewish New Yorkers and Jewish performers decided, well, if you're going to make fun of us, we're just going to do it first. So we get the emergence of many Jewish stars of vaudeville. It is a little bit of forward progress because the depictions are somewhat less derogatory, but it's still not great. And it's very controversial. We have Jewish families that have been in the country for several generations who are embarrassed because it really is more of a heavily accented Yiddish. It's not the assimilation that they have fought for. And then we also have people that do have those accents who are upset because it is essentially saying that Yiddish is a joke. Yiddish is only for comedy. So at least we have some creative control, but we are still at the whims of the broader society. Okay. The one of the queens, I would say, of Jewish vaudeville is, of course, Fanny Brice. And Fanny Brice, born in the late 19th century, not born in Europe, did not grow up in Europe. If you know her because of her famous, very heavily accented characters, that is not a real accent. She is, in fact, putting that on to lean more into what was popular at the time. As it says here, she changes her last name to sound less Jewish, and her life is very much a push and pull between being publicly very stereotypically Jewish and in private trying to hide that. So she changes her name. She's one of the first women in the country to get elective plastic surgery because she tries to get it. She gets a nose job. It is not as successful as she wants it to be. And so she decides that because she is not a typical beauty, she has no choice but to go into comedy if she wants to be a performer. Now, I put this picture on the left here because she's very pretty. And so this idea that she couldn't be a serious actor because she wasn't pretty enough, I think really shows the times. And here are some examples. If you were Jewish and you were beautiful, you couldn't possibly play a Jewish person. You had to change your last name and play non-Jewish roles because that's who was elegant and beautiful and star-worthy. If you were a Jewish actor and you were more stereotypical of the Yiddish mama stereotype, if people maybe thought you were traditionally unattractive, you could be Jewish in that case, but only because you were playing into a stereotype. You could not possibly be proud to be Jewish and pretty. If you didn't know, all of these women are in fact Jewish women who changed their last name and are known for being beautiful and also smart and talented. One of them created Wi-Fi. Okay, so as I said, you have to be aware of the political climate at all times. So when Fanny Brice is coming to prominence, there's 2.5 million Jews are coming here from Eastern Europe. So she's trying to be self-deprecating. She's not threatening. She's not gonna rock the boat. She's giving into what the culture has already decided is funny and interesting. And this brings us to one of the most prolific tropes of Jewish women in American comedy, which is Ashken normativity. If you're not familiar with the term, it essentially means that people assume that Ashkenazi culture is the Jewish culture, that being white, brown hair, curly hair, that's what you look like if you're Jewish. That's what you're going to see on TV. You live in New York, you probably have an accent, and you couldn't possibly be blonde or have blue eyes. So she's really leaning into that. And she puts on this accent, and we're actually going to have a clip so we can see who she was on screen and who she was in real life. Ooh, not going to play it right there. Okay, hang on. Come on. Okay, there we go. This is Fanny Brice, who I said wanted to be a serious actor. This is her performing a song in 1930, not on a screen, not with a lot of publicity. But their molehills compared to the mountains climb when I am as for a man. Rivers have been flowing. That is not the Fanny Brice we usually see in a glamorous gown, singing a very serious song with her actual accent. So that's who she wanted to be. And here is what she's famous for.
Hey, boy, the trouble with you get too excited. Don't get excited. Get excited. Don't get excited. Hold yourself together. Don't drop the pieces. Hold yourself together. All right, fine.
All right. So the important thing to note there is that in that clip, she is being very broad as possible. This is about appealing to as many people as possible because there were not so many options at the time, and you couldn't just appeal to the Jewish community, as there were not enough people to um, sustain that. Whereas in vaudeville, you're playing to a small house, you're in New York, you can fill a room. Not so on TV or in the movies. This sketch in particular is about this couple who won the lottery but gave the ticket to their landlord. And so the entire sketch is about money. That keeps tab. Okay, so that's the 20s. That's really when she comes to prominence. At the same time, we have Gertrude Berg. If you are unfamiliar with Gertrude Berg, she was the first Jewish American mom on TV. She's also the first Jewish American woman to play a Jewish American woman on TV. She came of age at the same time as Fanny Brice. Like Fanny Brice, she's born in New York. She grew up with a father who owned a resort in the Catskills, so she was very used to being around performers. And it's actually not until the Depression starts that she becomes a star because her husband loses his job. They have no way of making money. And she starts writing this character for herself to bring money in. It gets picked up by a radio show, and it becomes the second most successful 15-minute show on radio, on just below Amos and Andy. So in 1949, just as TV is starting to become like a real medium, mainstream households are actually having TVs in their homes, the producers of the three networks are trying to decide, what are we going to put on the air that is going to mitigate our risks? And so they choose established brands. People will already have a built-in audience. So that is how Gertrude Berg makes it on TV as Molly Goldberg. And as you can see, she actually wins the first Emmy Award in the category of lead actress in a television series. Now, unlike Fanny Brice, this character, while still broad, it feels like a real human being. We really care about her. It's clear she really cares about her family. And she is the one writing and the one starring. So she actually has a real say in what's happening. However, given the political climate, this is late 40s, early 50s. The Red Scare is the biggest thing happening. And so she's unable to be unapologetic about being Jewish. Much of the series is either a stereotype or trying to show the audience, we're just like you. We go to restaurants, we eat non-kosher meat, we're normal Americans. She is the personification of the Yiddish mama, one of the tropes we were discussing. She is overweight and overbearing and not very confident, and she's very self-deprecating. She's apologizing for who she is almost all the time, and she's not publicly making any large or controversial statements. As she says there, it's really important for her that she doesn't lose friends. She's going to keep this as broad as possible. In fact, when her character moves to the suburbs, they run out of plots for them because all of a sudden there's nothing less for them to do. They have completely assimilated. So we do have a quick clip from one episode of the Goldbergs. The premise of this episode is that her tanta has 4 daughters-in-law, and one of them has been married for 5 weeks, and she still won't call her mother-in-law mom. It's very upsetting. So Molly Goldberg decides she's going to poll the neighborhood to find out what to do.
Hello. Shall I come yet?
Not yet, no.
No?
No.
David, darling, did you call your Sally the doctor?
I'm waiting. He's calling me back.
Yeah, and he'll have all the psychological reasons?
He will.
Wonderful. David, I made a survey.
You did?
Yeah.
No?
I made a survey in the whole house, this house and the next house.
Yeah?
David, everybody I saw in the grocery, in the butcher, and all over, I asked the same question. What do you call your mother-in-law?
Yes.
So, I'll show you my survey. I asked 40 people. 40 people. 20 called their mother's ma and the mother-in-law's mother. 15 called their mother-in-law's mom and their mother's mama. It was vice. But 5 called their mother-in-law's also she.
Hey.
So is she still leaning into the stereotypes? Is she still putting on a Yiddish accent? Yes. But it feels like a real human being. She's actually connecting with the other people in the scene, and we like her. So that's the forward progress of this. She's a Jewish woman with creative control, and she has a Jewish family that they all love each other. And behind the scenes, she is able to fight for her, the actor who plays her husband, who gets blacklisted, to not get fired, and then to support him when he is eventually fired because the sponsors pull out. And unlike Fanny, again, this is only 20 years later, she is given the opportunity to be versatile and to go get a dramatic role and win a Tony Award. This clip that I'm going to play next is from her appearance on What's My Line. She was the guest, the blind guest, and you can see here how she contrasts with Molly Goldberg. And I also think it's really interesting that her nameplate does not say Gertrude Berg, it says Molly Goldberg.
All right, panel, as you know, in the case of the mystery challenger, we dispense with all of the usual preliminaries and get right down to the general questioning, which we will begin with Miss Faye Emerson.
That was very extended applause. Are you someone very much in the public eye? Rather. In other words, you appear a good deal before the public.
I do.
Are you in any sense in the field of entertainment?
I'd say I am, yes.
That's just a small clip, but you can see that is not Molly Goldberg. So the Goldbergs goes off the air in the mid-50s, and we do not get another Jewish woman on TV for 20 years. In the 60s, in fact, everyone is trying so hard to not rock the boat that there is one Jewish character on TV out of 700. And then when we finally do get a Jewish woman on TV in the 70s, it is not a character played by a Jewish woman. This is when the second wave of feminism hits and we get Rhoda. If you're not familiar with your feminist texts, after Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique, comes out, the second wave of feminism is officially launched, and many of the leaders are Jewish, like Gloria Steinem, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And as you can see here in this article on the right from the JTA, it's very excited about the new things that women can do, like be counted in a minyan and assert an equality in religious practice. Very exciting. So that is the background for when Rhoda becomes the star of the show. Like Molly Goldberg and like Fanny Brice, Rhoda is a built-in brand before we get the TV series Rhoda. She already has a built-in audience, so it's not a risk to put her, as much of a risk to put her on TV. This is the spinoff of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, where Valerie Harper played Rhoda, Mary's best friend, who is, of course, a Jewish, loud, brash New Yorker, because those are the only ones we see on TV. And even though she, again, is stunning, she is considered next to Mary to be bigger, louder, less attractive. And it's not until she moves back to New York in this series that we get to see her life. This is also the first time we really get to see a modern, feminist, American Jewish woman who is actually not only proud to be Jewish, but shows that on screen, and is a romantic lead. She's actively seeking a husband. That's sort of the point of the show. And 50 million people tune in when she gets married. Unfortunately, she does not marry a Jewish man. So we don't get that portrayal. And as soon as she gets married, because her goal has been accomplished, there is again nowhere for that show to go. So it also goes off the air. This is like the previous decades. This is another point that if you're going to be glamorous and you're going to be Jewish on TV, you can't be played by a Jewish person. You have to be played by a non-Jewish person. We also have the foil, who is Rhoda's mother, also played by a non-Jewish actress. And while Rhoda is allowed to be feminist and modern, we can't forget the old world ideals of the generation above her. So we're still making fun or punching down at the Jewish women who have more traditional values and have come from Gertrude Berg's time. It, of course, reinforces the ideas we've been saying, Ashken normativity. She's a New Yorker. And it brings into question, for the first time now that second wave feminism has hit, what is the responsibility of Jewish men with creative control in portraying Jewish women and having Jewish partners in their work? For instance, here's an example. We just had Rhoda. On the other hand, 1975, Rhoda is on the air. Gilda Radner is on Saturday Night Live. Unlike Rhoda and every portrayal we've seen so far, Gilda Radner, not from New York. She is from Detroit, and as you can see, famously called herself a Jewess from Detroit. I understand that for many people, that word is a little touchy, but many people in my generation, other generations, are now reclaiming that as just a word that means like a strong, powerful Jewish woman. So the difference between Gilda's Jewish characters on Saturday Night Live and what we've seen before is that the stereotypically Jewish traits are shown with affection and love. They're endearing or they're funny, they're positive. And this is the first time we see that. Now, she's obviously most famous for Rosanna Dana and Emily Litella, but it's her Jewish character, Rhonda Weiss, that we're going to get a clip of as she plays the quintessential Jewish American princess.
She's got a lifestyle uniquely hers. Europe, Nassau, wholesale furs. She's read every best-selling book. She's a gourmet blend of coke. She's got that Jewish love.
Yes, so that is Rhonda Weiss selling Jewess jeans. I think that if that is a non-Jewish woman playing her, it's offensive because it's Gilda Radner and it's just authentic to her upbringing and people she knows. It subverts the stereotype of the Jewish American princess, so that we're laughing with her, not at her. That brings us to the next era of Jewish women in American comedy, which starts around when Gilda leaves SNL in 1980. And that is the unapologetic Jewess and the invisible or crypto Jew. So this is when we're touching on a little bit of film. Jewish rom-coms actually have a moment in the late 80s. And we get Crossing Delancey, which is one of my favorite movies, and Dirty Dancing. And we'll see how they portray Jewish people completely differently. So in Crossing Delancey, we have written, directed, and starring Jewish women. It is explicitly Jewish content. They're speaking in Yiddish. She calls her grandma Bubby. This is like proud to be Jewish. Yes, it's still in New York, Lower East Side, but this is like authentic joy, and we actually get, for once, multiple generations of Jewish women in a family, and the purpose of having the older generation is not to make fun of or to belittle, it's to portray a warm Jewish family. So in this clip, we see it's towards the end of the movie where Amy Irving's character, her Bubby, is basically faking amnesia to get Amy Irving and Peter Rieger's characters together. And I think it's important because it shows an older Jewish woman as the smartest person in the room. And it's supposed to start here.
Thank you. This is Sam. You remember Sam?
No.
He's a friend of mine. Mrs. Mandelbaum introduced us. You remember?
No.
Okay.
Go get the bed ready.
Okay, relax. Maybe the drink.
You're some big time operator. You'll dance with me at the wedding. I'll make some nice cakes and you'll buy the schnapps. And we'll have such a good time.
We'll see, Bubby. We'll see.
Like a piece of fat.
So I love that movie. On the other hand, we have Dirty Dancing, where no one at any time mentions that they're Jewish, that the family is Jewish at all. The writer, Eleanor Bergstein, who is, of course, a Jewish woman, stated that it's so implicit in the movie that it doesn't need to be said out loud. But I do think that we lose something in not saying it out loud, because why are we hiding that? Why are we not showing that we're proud to be Jewish women at the Catskills, in the Catskills? Like, this is the most Jewish content and nobody says a word. It's also important because what Eleanor Bergstein says is that Baby, played by Jennifer Grey, expresses her Jewishness through Jewish values rather than through religious practice. So we're talking about social justice, reproductive rights. Is that enough? Up for debate. Which is how we get to the 90s, and we finally get, again, a Jewish woman on TV playing a Jewish woman. It has been, if you're keeping track, 50 years almost since Molly Goldberg on The Goldbergs. Now, I know some people consider The Nanny to be not the most nuanced portrayal of Jewish women, but here's why I think it is an incredibly progressive show. First, written, produced, starring Fran Drescher as Fran Fine. The network wanted her to change the character to be Italian, to be more appealing to people, and she fought to keep her Jewish. She even wrote an op-ed in the LA Times defending why it was important for the nanny to be Jewish and proud. And as we see from Jake Cohen, a chef, a Jewish chef that many people love and some people know, he has a great explanation of why the nanny is so important.
My North Star is Fran Drescher. Like, I'm a huge Nanny fan. I love her. And to me, I think she is the single individual person who has done more for American Jewry in the last 30 years than any individual person. Because she created a character and a vehicle for America to fall in love with a Jewish family from a place of pure joy. And I am a huge Seinfeld fan. I love Larry David. I love Curb. I love it. Like, Seinfeld is about a show about the people you hate. Like, they're not about good people. That's why the end of Seinfeld goes the way it goes. Right. Versus The Nanny was about the quirks of a Jewish family that have hearts of gold. For people to see themselves and fall in love with this storyline, it was, I think, quintessential for the normalization of these kinds of Jewish narratives.
I completely agree. That is why I love The Nanny so much. Her stereotypically Jewish traits. She's loud, her voice is very nasal. They're endearing and cute, and they're celebrated, and they're all positive. She is considered the most attractive person on the show. They're constantly, you're hearing the audience like whistle and things when she comes down in beautiful gowns. She is fashion forward, and she's also hilarious and just unapologetically Jewish. The other important move forward in the Nanny is that when we do get Jewish content on the Nanny, which is frequently, it's not about questioning beliefs or questioning religion. It is about being Jewish, just being a part of her. She's just allowed to live as a Jewish woman. And we do have an example. This is a very long quote, but essentially the idea is that when they go to shul in an episode, the episode is not about faith or questioning faith. It's just they're there on a Saturday because sometimes that's where you are, because that's just a part of your life. And maybe, like it says here, it's the same as going to Loman's. It's just part of the everyday. It doesn't have to be some amazing moment where we question our entire life's purpose and our connection to Judaism. It's just a Saturday. So we also, in this particular show, I think is important to mention that we enter a postmodern era of Jewish women on TV, meaning that it is very meta. They break the fourth wall. She's clearly making fun of herself, but in a way that is full of joy and confidence. She is subverting stereotypes as opposed to it. The show references other episodes or other TV shows that are on at the same time. It's all about joy and about camp, which I also listed here. That it's about being big and embracing who you are. I also think that the fact that we get Fran Fine, her mom, and her grandma Yetta all on the same show, 3 generations of Jewish women, is really big and a move forward. And I would say maybe most importantly, almost always the punchline is either Cece Babcock, who we see here in this photo, who is the waspiest wasp that ever wasped, or the British non-Jewish Sheffield family. It's not Fran, it's not Judaism, it is the people who don't understand where she's coming from. And and one second.
Don't you think we should get this show on?
This clip is from an episode called The Unkindest Cut, where the Sheffield family goes to a bris. And the son is filming it.
We're ready.
Morty, we're not waiting for halftime. Get out here.
Okay, B, we're about to get started. What are you doing?
I'm shooting the bris. No.
Oh, well, fasten your lens cap. You're about to find out.
All right, I'm just here to do whatever you. Oh my God.
So as you can see in that clip, the bris is not the joke. Fran is not the joke. It is Brighton not knowing what a bris is. And how many of us have had that conversation with a family member about, we need to start, we can't wait until halftime. So, right, back where we were. So the show The Nanny goes on the air in 1993. 1 year later, we get Friends, potentially the most famous, successful sitcom of all time. And there are 3 Jewish women on Friends. This quote, I think, exemplifies why Friends does not work and has not held up in terms of Jewish content the way that The Nanny has. So, we'll get to Friends too. And Seinfeld is also on the air. So let's do Friends first, and then we'll go back to Seinfeld. So Friends actually does have a Jewish woman in charge, Marta Kaufman, and she does have Jewish women in the show. However, she's still beholden to this network model of having to appeal to as many people as humanly possible. And so she's either not willing or not able to get authentic Jewish representation on Friends. Monica, who is the only one who actually explicitly states that she is Jewish on the show, or that someone states she's Jewish on the show, she's neurotic. She lost a bunch of weight, and they're always making fun of her. Basically, the stereotypical Jewish traits she portrays are the things we don't like about her, and we love her in spite of them, not because of them. Rachel Green, played by Jennifer Aniston, is, according to Marta Kaufman, canonically Jewish, but it's never mentioned on the show. She's played by a non-Jewish woman because, again, she's supposed to be the beautiful one on the show. And she is a Jewish American princess. When the show starts, she's addicted to shopping. She's really superficial. She had a nose job. All of these things that we would consider to be negative aspects of the Jewish American princess, and the sort of growth she experiences on the show is how far away she gets from that. And then, of course, Janice. Janice is often compared to Fran Fine, who we just saw in The Nanny, so much so that they wore the same outfit. So the difference in these two women who are loud, brash, supposed to be like sensual, funny New Yorkers, is that Fran's traits are all endearing and we love her for them. And Janice's traits, the exact same traits, are annoying and undesirable. And how can we get out of this as fast as we can? Maggie Wheeler, who played her, does not speak like this. This is not her accent. It is Fran's actual accent. So you can see how authenticity and the fact that Fran is coming from a place of authenticity lends her character to be seen in a positive light, whereas Janice is putting something on, and it's really kind of harkening back to Fanny Brice putting on a Yiddish accent. And now, the current day. Also, I love this joke that was sent for Valentine's Day. Yes, I have more. This is a long quote as well. But in the last couple of decades, the importance of the evolution of Jewish women in American comedy is that there have been more than one at a time. So we're actually able to appreciate each one for who they are, rather than making a Jewish woman on TV be the representative for all Jewish women in the world. So we have two different sides, just like we've had in every era. The unabashedly Jewish. This is from an episode of Broad City where they go on a birthmark trip. Yeah. And Broad City, one of my favorite shows, created in 2014, starring Abby Jacobson and Alana Glazer, two Jewish women, two millennials. Like most of the shows we've seen before, it was famous and had a built-in audience before it was on TV. It was a web series. Amy Poehler saw it and decided to get it produced. So it was not, again, like a huge risk. We also see that this show is on Comedy Central. It's not on one of the big networks, and it's kind of the first time we see that TV is no longer a pie. We don't have 3 networks with 4 blocks a night. There are many options, so you don't have to appeal to 50 million people. You can appeal to 2 million people and still be considered a success. These women are very proud to be Jewish. They are secular, and it's just part of who they are. And I saw a quote, they've taken us from shpilkes to chutzpah. I think that's like the perfect description of why this show is important. Now, this clip is going to this clip's going to go on Facebook because I couldn't find it on YouTube. And one second. So if you've ever watched Broad City, you probably know not that easy to find a clip that's appropriate. So we're gonna have 10 seconds.
So Abby, we have incredible news. We got the cemetery plot.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. Most of all, we are nowhere near the Schwartzes.
Oh.
So how do you like?
I've had that exact conversation with my parents, which is it's part of the reason I love Broad City, because it makes me feel seen, like it's my version of being a Jewish woman in New York in this time period. We also have Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It comes on at the same time. They run at the same time. And shockingly, not set in New York, set in California. This show is created and written and directed and starring Rachel Bloom and one of her colleagues, Aileen Brosh McKenna, who is also Jewish. And it starts to tackle important issues like mental health, and they write songs about every taboo topic you could possibly think of. But the most important part is that it's just a part of who she is. It's a part of everything she does. She never apologizes for being Jewish. Tova Feldshuh plays her mom. And like Broad City, it's on a smaller network. So it, again, doesn't have to appeal to everyone. She has more opportunities to really be nuanced and have a very specific portrayal as opposed to appealing to the whole country. And unfortunately, the other side of the coin. Jewface is back. If you haven't heard recently, there's been a lot of conversation about whether or not Jewish women should be playing Jewish women, Jewish actors should be playing Jewish roles. Do we need to do it? This is an example of what happens when there is not a Jewish woman playing a Jewish character. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is created by Amy Sherman Palladino, who did grow up in a Jewish household, but stars Rachel Brosnahan, again, the waspiest wasp, whoever wasped. And she's another example of a glamorous, beautiful, fashion-forward Jewish woman. Therefore, she can't be played by a Jewish actor. And the main issue with this show is that being Jewish or being different, being othered is often the punchline. The more overtly Jewish characters are often looked down on. And at the Golden Globes one year, the host, Andy Samberg, even said, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is the show that makes audiences sit up and say, wait, is this anti-Semitic? I would argue that it is. I don't know where the clip, oh yeah, here we go. And one more Facebook video, sorry. This is the exact reason I don't think this is an accurate representation of being a Jewish woman in America. This clip, set in the 1960s, Mrs. Maisel is on a USO tour, and it is Christmas time. And this is her response to having to sing White Christmas. Now, that may not seem like a big deal that she doesn't know the words, but the joke there is, oh, the Jewish girl doesn't know the words to White Christmas. The most famous single ever released, written famously by a Jewish man, and 6 to 8 years after the movie White Christmas comes out. So the idea that this person who grows up on the Upper West Side, who has a best friend who's not Jewish, who is a very assimilated human being, does not know the words to White Christmas, was enough for me to stop watching the show. Transparent is another example of what happens when we don't cast Jewish women to play Jewish women, and or the only Jewish woman we do cast the actual creator said, I can't believe it. She's blonde. How could she be? Now the question, again, as I mentioned, why does it matter? Why does it matter if Jewish women play Jewish women? You know, I'm an actor. Why can't I play something other than what I am? Here is Sarah Silverman with the answer.
Actors are actors and they should play all different parts, 100%. Let me make that clear.
Right.
It's the collective of the fact that if there is a role that's a Jewish woman, which is rare as it is, but lately it's been happening. And if that role is a Jewish woman, but she is courageous, or she is deserves love, or has bravery, or is altruistic in any way, she's played by a non-Jew.
That clip goes on, but then there's curse word. So
Would you quarantine?
I think that is right, spot on for me. It's not that these actors can't play Jewish women, they don't have the acting chops. It's that the representation is important. And like they say in Hamilton, who lives, who dies, who tells your story. It's important that we tell our story, as we've seen here so far. And if you're more of a statistics person, there was actually a study recently released that analyzed Jewish characters in many TV shows, and they did not find the most positive things. As we were talking about, Ashken normativity is a huge trope that they found. Almost all the characters were white and straight. They found that women are played by Jewish actors less than men. 44%, not even half of the Jewish female characters on TV are played by Jewish women. Very rarely, 1/5 of the time, do they reference being Jewish explicitly. And we're leaning into stereotypes again, that 1/3 of Jewish mothers on TV comment on their child's relationship. So 50% of episodes as well, we see, had negative judgments about Orthodox Judaism. The same study did a whole section about Orthodox portrayals on TV and how they're almost always portrayed as criminals or trying to leave or negative. There are no comedic Orthodox portrayals that are positive that I have seen and that this study found. Again, why does this matter? Not only does it matter because representation and nuance in the media has been proven to boost self-esteem of the marginalized group being represented, but it's also been proven to transform public opinion about that group. So as a Jewish woman watching, it's validating to see yourself on TV, to see someone who looks like you or talks like you or has the same background playing that character. It also reduces stereotypes because it's coming from a place of authenticity. And as you see at the top, it's really important, especially for kids. And that's where we get to the future. What are we going to look for in the future? How do we get from this monolithic Jewish woman on TV to a diverse group? I think there's two things. You have to have them both. One, Jewish women have to have creative control of their stories. And two, they have to be not only willing to take the risk, but also secure enough in the job, with the studio, with the network, to be able to take the risk, to show, like these women below, women of color, Jewish women of color, queer Jewish women that aren't from New York. Can you believe it? We also exist in the South and the Midwest. I've never seen a Jewish woman in a wheelchair on TV, or someone who's Sephardic, Mizrahi. These are all portrayals that it's on, in my opinion, all of us to ensure that are having a moment as well. It's not just white, New York, Ashkenazi Jewish women on TV. We are so many things, and they all deserve to be represented. One tiny little clip from a parody that shows, I think, the importance of not only featuring Jewish women that look like me, because half of this I laugh with, and the other half I feel like I could never say out loud. So this is Black and Jewish.
Black dad, Jewish mom, eat the filter fish, or pouring down.
Yes, so that's I think important because it shows intersectionality, that she's Jewish, she's not Black, she's both, and you cannot separate them, and they're both important parts of who she is, and one does not take precedence over the other. To my work.
Callie,
as Chevelle said, I'm also a writer, producer. Yes.
Yes, I'm stopping you for one moment.
Okay.
So that I'm stopping you for one moment to ask a few questions about what we just saw, and then I kind of want to give more spotlight to your work. So there were just a couple of questions and your take and thoughts on this series, Nobody Wants This, and The Beauty Queen of Jerusalem, and kind of what's your take on those shows that are actually newer and...
Right. So The Beauty Queen of Jerusalem, I like. It is not an American show. It's an Israeli show. And while we do have Sephardic women on the show, it's certainly not a comedy. So I'm not able to see the portrayal of American Sephardic women. Nobody Wants This is an interesting one. The showrunner, the creator, is a Jewish woman. She did not grow up as a she did not experience childhood as a Jewish woman. She doesn't look like me. And I think because she is, Jewish by choice and came to that later in life, the harmful effects potentially of Jackie Tone's character, who's the sister, or any of the other Jewish women on the show, are maybe not as top of mind to her. She even in an interview said, I didn't really think about it. And I think that is to the detriment of the show and the messaging being sent to all of us. On the other hand, there are very few Jewish women on TV, and is some representation better than no representation? Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to use the last few minutes, and maybe we'll go a few minutes over time to talk about your show. And I think especially mentioning kind of creative control and writing and all of that. So if you can tell us a little bit of Front of the House, which now had its pilot and is out in the world, or it's beginning its first steps in the world.
So as you can see here, I was the co-writer, creator, producer, star of Front of House, which is a mockumentary, so in the style of Parks and Rec or Modern Family or The Office, about being an actor in New York and having a day job working front of house on Broadway. It is female-led, female-produced. We had as many women on the crew as we possibly could in positions of power, in positions that they're not normally in, like in the lighting department. And we tried to make it as collaborative a set as possible, which statistically happens when women are in power on sets. And the person on the right, Paige, also a Jewish woman. So it was really important for me to make sure that there were two portrayals on the show. So we did have the ability to have nuance in the portrayal of Jewish women.
Another question, how does it feel nowadays to be a Jewish actor and writer in the professional scene? Is there an impact? Do you feel it beyond beyond your own show? You're also working in the scene.
I think it's a little too soon to tell how much the political climate is going to affect Jewish women in the arts. have I thought before about whether or not I should take, basic Hebrew off my resume or any indications of being Jewish? Yes, but ultimately I decided to go in the same vein as the unapologetic women we saw. And if you don't want to hire me because I'm Jewish, that is certainly your problem.
Okay, another question. I saw the pilot, and in it there isn't any direct mentioning of any of the characters being Jewish. Can you say when that comes up, if it comes up, and why you chose to keep it for later?
It actually comes up in episode 2. We did have it in episode 1, and it got cut when we had to move things around. We had to change one of the characters' professions, which made the lines about being Jewish not work in that spot. But in the second episode, my character has a conversation with her parents that is all about being Jewish and living in the city and being an actor and how all those things come together. And also maybe they met someone at shul who works in the arts and you should maybe meet him. So it's definitely important. I do believe that every character I play is Jewish because I'm Jewish. It's definitely a larger conversation about what makes Jewish art Jewish. For me, it's the person creating it. But I do think it's important to be very explicit and proud, and not shy away from representing who I am in my work.
One last question, which is coming up here from a few directions, is what channel is this pilot on and where can people see it? So maybe it's good to say a few words about what a pilot is and how these things come to be and where people can watch it.
So a pilot is kind of like a pitch. We created this pilot to hopefully have someone be able to produce the entire series. So typically you would get a green light to make a pilot, and then if the studio or whoever liked it, they would pick it up and send it to series. In this case, we did not want to wait for a studio or a network to get involved, and we decided to make our own work. And so we raised the money ourselves and we produced the pilot. And now we have this amazing thing to show people and hope that they are interested.
So basically, if anyone from Hollywood is on this call, or if anyone here knows anyone, will we be sending them a link to see the pilot? And will they be able to share it? Or no?
We will be considering that and getting back to you today. Yes, but if you know someone who would love to support Jewish women in the arts, please reach out.
Okay, so here at CSP, we will work tirelessly to ensure you are able to watch the pilot in some capacity. We'll figure that out so that word does get out and so that we have more Jewish creative women bringing TV and comedy to us. Callie, thank you so much for this informative journey through time, and thank you everyone for being with us.
Thanks to everyone for being here, and I hope you go watch some TV with some Jewish women in it.